Yeah.
So,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 90th Minute Whistle podcast. Today is a hectic day in football. We have Mario.
yeah,
Let's just like
thanks for
there's
introducing me.
yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, but I'm here with my host Mario, and it's been a very hectic 48 hours in football. Um, at the current moment of this recording, we're hearing the once proposed Super League that was announced on Sunday. Clubs are pulling out. Chelsea and City have confirmed to be pulling out. Manchester United is said to be following them. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid have pulled out. Barcelona president Laporte stated that they would have only joined if the Barcelona members, the sources, did I pronounce that correctly, Mario?
Yeah, the sources,
Yeah, if they had agreed to join.
which they won't.
We're hearing that Ed Woodward, chairman of Manchester United, have resigned from Manchester United. He has resigned from the board. That doesn't well that's big news. Without everything that's happening in football, that in itself is big news. We're also hearing unconfirmed reports that Andrea Agnelli, the former ESA president and the president of Juventus, has also resigned from his post.
Can I say something for a second?
Sure.
We'll go into the collateral damage that has been done just from this coming out. But just explain to everyone, like, let's just explain first to everyone, like, what the situation is or what was fully proposed, and we'll go into all of the details of what's been going on. Yeah, we'll go into like the
Okay,
collateral
so
damage and stuff like
all right, sure. So the Super League, as it was termed, is a group of 12 clubs. These 12 clubs, starting with the leading clubs, the chairman, Florentino Perez, Real Madrid, followed by Liverpool, Manchester United, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester City, and Chelsea, all decided that they were going to form a Super League, a European competition where these clubs will play each other on a midweek basis. These were the 12 founding clubs, and they wanted to introduce three more clubs that which will make up the founders. And then you have five additional clubs that will come into the Super League via promotion from their normal leagues, via qualifying, basically. The format would have been two groups of 10 clubs each, home and away fixtures within the group each year. And then you will have eight eight clubs moving on to the group stages, which it would sorry, eight clubs moving on to the knockout stages, where they will play until a champion is determined. Now, the Super League would guarantee big money for these clubs. A proposed $3.4 billion was on the table for these clubs. $300 million just for signing up to the Super League. And the clubs envision a $10 billion profit that they would be able to distribute into the footballing pyramids. So that was the Super League. What the biggest issues with the Super League is that the founding clubs would not be relegated. They would not be able to drop out. They would not be knocked out. Basically, they will become a franchise. So they will always be in what we call in the
that.
Super League.
Let's give them a simple example: the NBA or the NFL.
Yes, exactly. Where even if Golden State finishes last, they will not go to a second division. They will always stay in the NBA.
They
And
would
just
just
to
get a they would
say,
just get a they would just get a high draft pick as a result.
exactly. So just to say, and it is confirmed, Andrea Agnelli has resigned from his role as president of Juventus.
Yeah, like I said, let's go into the collateral damage as we go.
Now, when this was announced on Sunday, the fans were extremely upset. The fans were very, very upset. UEFA, the FA, the Premier League, FIFA, they all sent threats. They were upset. Nobody wanted this to happen. But before we get to the governing bodies of football, because they're not innocent either, let's go to the fans. As someone who loves sport, no matter what sport it is, from the best sport in the world in football to polo that I've never ever watched. Sport is all about being competitive. It's all about dreaming that you can make it to the top. What makes European football so special, and this is the same thing happens in South America, in CONCACAF, in Asia as well, in Africa. What makes football special is that you earn where you are on merit.
Yeah.
Nothing is given to you. It is not a right. It's not your God-given right to be at the top. You are at the top because you've worked for it. You've earned your way to the top. The Super League would have taken that away, where these 15 clubs would have never, they would always be at the top without accomplishing anything. If a club, Leicester won the Premier League not too long ago, they would not be invited into the Super League. It doesn't matter if any of the Premier League clubs in the Super League finished last, 20th. They would always be in the Super League. That is not competitive. And the fans hated that. For a very long time, the fans have been crying out that football is becoming too commercial. Football is is no longer for the fans. The ticket price has gone up. The broadcasting, the subscription fees that you have to pay. All of this shows that football has become so heavily commercialized that Mario said not too long ago that the financial bubble of football is
Will burst.
eventually going to burst because it is no longer sustainable. The
Yeah.
wages that players are on, the transfer fees, the amount of money that agents are being paid the same amount of money where you buy a player for. So the finances of football has ballooned over the past 20 years. And the fans were the ones who have felt the full force of that.
And that's the one thing you
Um,
can't alienate. And that's the one thing you cannot alienate in any sport. You cannot alienate the fans. Who the hell is buying your product? The fans. So
exactly.
you can never
Who's going to
alienate the
buy the
fans.
clips? Who's going to watch the match? They're saying in this Super League proposal, club chairmen called the current fans, legacy fans, because they see that they can get higher viewing from Asia and the US markets and Africa, while these clubs have been in these communities for more than 100 years. That a season ticket owner for any of these clubs has been probably his great great grandfather used to sit in that seat.
You used to
And
sit in out
and
you
most
yeah,
you
you
know,
used to sit
mo-
in
most
used
of these
yeah, go ahead.
clubs, most of these fans of these clubs were introduced to these clubs by their parents, by their father taking them down to the training ground, taking them down to the match and watching it. This is what European football is. It has a long history, a long legacy of being the people's sport. And even though football has become so commercialized, billionaire owners coming in and all of that, the one thing that remained constant was it is for the fans. It doesn't
No,
matter how high the transfer fees got, the wages got, the football was still for the fans. The players still respected the fans. They still won trophies for the fans. It was always for the fans. The Super League would have taken that completely away. The magic of playing Real Madrid for Chelsea next week, Tuesday, I think. The magic behind that is that we don't play Real. The last time we played Real Madrid was 28 years ago. The magic of playing them next week is because we hardly do it. And now we get to test ourselves one of the biggest clubs in Europe.
All right,
But the
let me
magic of playing
can I chime
against
in here?
and yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So as it pertains to the whole fun, let's to go deeper into the whole fun thing. One, I think they're overestimating the idea of us fans also. Being that we live outside of Europe, I think that we're slightly they're slightly overestimating how many fans we can actually get toward football outside of Europe. And those legacy fans are the fans that those legacy fans that they're claiming that they can isolate are the fans that go to the matches. We here in the Caribbean, the guys in Africa and all of that, sure, we can pay for we'll pay for a subscription service, and that is even greatly overstated because me and you both know there are a lot of people out there who still live in certain countries who you may look at a social media post and say, okay, well, this amount of people are Man United fans. Not everybody is legally streaming your service, streaming your matches, even to this day around the world. So
Exactly.
you can great, and again, none of these overseas based fans are going to a Champions League match of the week
Yeah,
and
but you
filling
see,
up a
what they don't
stadium.
understand, is that a lot of the overseas fans, if you think that they would not give up if they got the opportunity to join in with these legacy fans and sing the chants and cheer on their clubs in the stadium, you think they will pass up that opportunity to
No, they
sit with
wouldn't.
some of the fans that have been supporting the club for 40, 50 years and hear some of the when I'm on the Chelsea chat and I'm speaking with fans that have been supporting this club for 60, 70 years, and they talk about when Stamford Bridge was going to be taken and how they had to pass around a bucket just so they could chump up enough money to buy the bridge. These are some of the stories that you as an overseas fan, you will never learn, you will never hear it because you've never been there. When you when you are able to talk to these fans that have been there for so long, you learn so much more about your club. And if they think that if the legacy fans were upset, you think the overseas fans would not be upset as well over this?
Let me use a Liverpool example, a simple Liverpool example. Nobody knows the Never Walk Alone song overseas because of us. We didn't create that shit.
Exactly.
We didn't create that. If I go to a Liverpool match, I'm a Chelsea fan, but let's just use an art.
Yeah.
If I go to a Liverpool match and I want to go and sit in the cup because the cup is famous for Liverpool fans, the people who live there, the
Exactly.
people who support
Yes.
it there. They're the ones who bring that energy. They're the ones who bring that
That
part of the
vibe that
game. And it doesn't just go for Liverpool. All of these fans in these stadiums who create these chants and create these type of memories and atmosphere.
it gives you an it
As an
gives you the
overseas
biggest
fan,
atmosphere.
exactly. And as an overseas fan, I would go there to experience that. I am not the one creating that atmosphere. I would like to go
Exactly.
from my TV,
Let us use the
from my
Champions League as an
TV.
example.
Yeah, go on, go on.
Because remember Barcelona PSG when you guys had that great comeback and there
Yeah.
was Messi standing up on the billboards with the fans. You think those fans are yes, maybe a lot of them were overseas fans, but most of those fans traveled from Barcelona to Paris.
90% of them are from
And
Barcelona.
if you were a Barcelona fan in France, you just maybe buy yourself, get a ticket, and you go there. But
Exactly.
most of those fans are ones who traveled from Barcelona. A lot of Chelsea fans traveled from London to Munich just to watch the Champions League finals.
I
They
want to give
sang the
credit.
songs.
Yeah, give me a second. Like I want to give credit to I can't remember his name right now, but he went on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. I
Mhm.
really should remember this because I watched it yesterday. But he's a guy from England. I really trying to remember his name. But one of the things he said in his argument again, because he's from England, he's one of those guys who he supports Queens Park Rangers. Granted, that's not one of the
Mhm.
big clubs that we're talking about, but he has the
No.
experience of supporting clubs in England. He grew
Yes.
up he grew up in a situation where Back in the day when even Queens Park Rangers was considered a Premier League team, or back then it was maybe
Yes.
the English First Division. But
Hmm.
these fans used to actually go to a pub after the game and see the players because that's
Yes,
what
that
football was, the
was,
working
yes,
man's
back
game.
in the day, the working man's game. And
And
a lot of the
what
players that used to play were
you could see them
also
at a
maybe a
pub.
co-worker, maybe he
Exactly.
lives across from you. That's where
Exactly.
football
The
originated from.
the guy who came on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, he was saying that even just to travel, you mentioned Chelsea fans or Barca fans traveling to the games. That is a part of football. You getting on a bus, traveling for hours, singing on the bus, stopping to get food with a bunch of people from your community. Um, and that traveling with that fan, with your community to go
Mhm.
and watch a Man United game is a part of the game. You don't isolate those fans. Those
No,
are the
because
fans
it is
spending
what
money on
makes the
season
game.
tickets.
It is what makes the game. It's what we call it the beautiful game, but it's not the beautiful game because of what's happening on the pitch. It's the emotions that are tied with. And like I said, a lot of
And
these
how it brings people
players
together
who have a season ticket, that same season ticket has probably been passed down through the family for generations.
for
And if they have a
generations.
child and that child is interested in football and that child is going to matches, when their parent is no longer able to go to matches, that same season ticket, they'll pass it on to their child and their child will now take their seat.
Exactly.
This is generations of fans who have been going to these matches.
And again,
And
I think
these fans were the ones when these clubs were in a very bad situation, took their hard-earned money and bailed them out. These were the same fans that saved a lot of these clubs. I remember in 1958 when Manchester United had the Munich disaster. It was the same fans that turned up their hard-earned money at the time and brought back the club back from the brinks of collapse.
does the new Liverpool owner know anything about the what do you call it, the
The
Anfield disaster? The
The
Hillsbury,
Hillsborough.
yes.
I think you'd have probably just hear about it. But
No, but
has he ever
those are the
spoken to any other fans who have
exactly
been through
those
it?
are the people. Those are the generations of people who helped rebuild your club for you to be able to buy it easy.
What
No,
about
for you to be able to buy
does the
it now.
Juventus president, does he know about the Hazel disaster? Granted, his family might have been the one in charge of Juventus for a very long time. But how can you turn your back? You know, your fans supported you after the match fixing scandal.
Because as you
When
reminded me, no,
every
because Leon, but because you reminded me of this. You were the one who said this to me Sunday when we were just discussing this off here.
yes.
You were the one who said it. They're covering their ass because of the billions they've wasted over the years.
Exactly. And Perez gave an interview yesterday and he said it. He said that Real Madrid is in financial ruin. Barcelona
Yeah,
is in financial ruin.
and what and
Liverpool doesn't have much money. Arsenal, Tottenham has over 800 million pounds to pay off. AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus, they don't have much money. They're all in debt.
as I've said it, I said it before a couple of years ago. Eventually, this bubble is going to burst. The moment I saw Neymar get a transfer for 200 and odd mil, I was like, "Yup, this is heading in the wrong direction. This is not sustainable."
Of course. And
Because
you know,
look at
this is why
you go.
I'm a Chelsea fan at heart, but I love Bayern for due to family connection. But Rummenigge came out and said the Super League does not solve the fundamental problems. Putting more money on the table doesn't solve the problem. That will only increase the weight.
Yeah,
He
you're just
said
making the
that
bubble bigger.
he said that the reason why these clubs are in the problem that they're in right now is that yes, they might have wasted the money, but a report came out and said 70% of the revenue that these clubs make go to player wages and transfer fees and agent fees. 70% of
Yeah,
revenue that these clubs make goes to player wages and transfer fees. He said that to stop this, to bring back these clubs from financial ruin, is to put a cap on wages, put a cap on agent fees, reduce the transfer fees that are being spent to buy these players. Because
And
if you do not reduce the wages and the transfer fees, if every club in Europe decides to hear what, your 400,000 a week contract is going down to 200,000 a week, and every club agreed that here what, this is the maximum amount of money being paid for a superstar player. If every club agrees that, you think that player can be like, oh, but that club can offer me more money?
I know it's funny. It's so funny. I've been getting a lot into American sports over the last maybe 3 or 4 years. Growing up, it was only basketball that I really cared about from America. I used to be very anti NFL because I thought it was a disgrace to call that game football.
Exactly.
Um, but
And egg.
yeah, but I've been really getting into it. I've been really trying to stop the bias, being a football person, because again, I report on sports overall. So I've
Exactly.
been really trying to enjoy the games. So
Mhm.
one of the things I've admired about American sports, and my father has been telling me this since I was a child. I'll never stop giving Richard Pottinger his credit for this.
Mhm.
Ever since I was a child, my father has been telling me that the game of football is almost like he prophesied,
Yeah.
will eventually become more Americanized. It will become more American, to the point where me and you were having discussions about, and yeah, my father might have said something a bit extreme in that you soon see footballer playing a quarters and then foolish instead. But he's been a bit eccentric, but he's always told me that the fabric of the game would eventually become more Americanized, more commercialized.
And
And
this is the first attempt of making the sport more Americanized.
but
This was the
here's where
first attempt at it.
yeah, but here's where I will give America some credit. I don't 100% agree with
Their franchise model, but what you can agree with is their wage cap
their
and
salary
how
cap model.
it's
There's
perfect.
their salary cap model. I don't want to say it's perfect, but it's very good. You
It
can't really go. It's
it
very good.
ensures that no club can go bankrupt, because Barcelona's biggest problem is that they have to be borrowing money to pay your wages. In American
Exactly.
sport, that is not an issue, because you in the NBA, a certain amount of players will be able to get paid more than the cap, but everybody else has
No,
to get
but
paid
that's the thing.
within the cap.
I wouldn't say more than the cap. There's what is known as different spaces on the cap. So LeBron James has a super max deal, right?
Yes.
You have to be a top 5 player to get a super max deal. You're a Kevin Durant, you're a LeBron James, you may be a Steph Curry, and maybe but yeah, you have to be one of those top 5 guys to get that.
One of the
No,
best players in the league.
exactly. You must be somebody that we can put on a poster and everybody know you, even if they don't watch the game. So CR7 and Messi may fit that. Neymar and Mbappe is going into that mold right now. They might fit into that category. And you don't
In
stay in that
football, for
category.
persons who don't watch NFL, in football, we call these players that can change a game for you, players who are Ballon d'Or candidates,
Exactly.
players who, when you think about their position, like De Bruyne, you think, yeah, one of the best in the world,
The
or maybe the
absolute
best
best.
in the world.
Exactly. So if you look at, like, we always have the FIFA 11 pros.
Yes, those
Maybe
players would
a
fit
super max
that
deal.
deal.
Yes. Then you have a max deal where, yes, you're a very good player, but you're not a top 5, top 10 player. So you have a max deal. So like the guys like a Clay Thompson, like a Angel Di Maria, who I still consider very world class, but he's not Messi. He's not
Exactly.
CR7, right? But he's played alongside those guys, and he's definitely a top class player. He's not Neymar and he's not where Mbappe is, but he's definitely in that same. He's one of the better players on your team, but he's not the guy. So you maybe get a
Exactly.
max deal.
Because no club, other than Real Madrid in the early 2000s, no club has 11 world superstars
And
playing
again,
for them.
and it's so
They have
ironic.
about
Well, no, no.
four world-class players, and then everybody else is below that bracket, but above everybody else. If you were having a top 10, top 20 list,
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't be in the top 5 or the top 10, but they're probably in the 11 to 20 bracket.
Yeah, and it's so funny that Fiorentino Perez, the man known for the Galacticos theory, where you buy the hottest, youngest, most expensive thing, I'm bring them in your squad. And you look at the two big
Exactly.
Spanish giants. What has crashed their club? The Galacticos model, where you
Exactly,
spend as much
because
money as possible, and that's what
for
got
Barcelona to
Bartomeu
keep
fired.
Messi, for Barcelona to keep Messi, Bartomeu gave Messi this, I think it was over 4 years, $500 million contract.
Now, granted, if
How much
you
you're earning a year? So if Messi alone contract over 3 years is valued $500 million, what about your Suarez, your Dembeles, what your
no, here's the
Piques,
thing.
your Alba, your
Here's the thing. Here's the
Busquets?
thing. Here's what Bartomeu got wrong. Even if you want to give Messi that, because that would be considered like a supermax deal, like a LeBron
Yeah,
James type of
yeah,
deal. But hold on. Here's the thing. What Barca usually does to get away with that without breaking what would be their salary cap in a sense, or what would usually compensate for that, is the fact that Barcelona is a type of team that usually I have one guy like Lionel Messi who's earning that amount, and then the majority of my players are players that I brought from my academy that
exactly.
I
But that,
they're,
in all
they're
other retrospect, they're probably earning at max 200K, at the max
ah
200K a
but
week.
it still kept us competitive, and we can groom them and develop them
Sell
into
them on
top
for big
players.
money. Or
Exactly.
you said, you develop into top players.
And who we can develop into top players? Okay, we clear our salary cap, we sell you on, and we develop some money for it so that we can pay the guys.
So the two big Spanish giants,
Are suffering from that
they're
Galacticos
suffering
model.
because exactly because when you go through it, when you read Real Madrid accounts, when you read Barcelona accounts, and you see the amount of money that they're spending on wages, you have to ask yourself, are they mad?
And then here's the thing that upsets me as a Barcelona fan, because everybody knows I'm a fan of different clubs in different leagues. I don't do like
Mhm,
one club fan thing. Just like how you're a Bayern fan but a Chelsea fan, so I have a club in each
mhm.
league that I like. What upsets me as a Barca fan is that this Galacticos theory, it only worked for one club, Real Madrid. This was never something Barca is usually doing. But ever since Bartomeu got the as as soon as Bartomeu got the job at Barcelona, he started making these big transfers. He started to ignore the academy, which allowed a lot of young talents to leave the academy for free. Not even the usual model where we would, okay, I would bring you into the first team, develop you, and if we realize that we can't develop you, then we just sell you on, and that money goes towards our fees and stuff like that. No, you let these guys leave for free. The Takefusa Kubas, the Xavi Simons of the world, the Alex Grimaldos and those guys. You're basically letting them go. Danny
Exactly.
Almost, so you broke the Barcelona model and tried to do what Real Madrid is doing. And
And you sent your club into financial ruin.
one billion,
Perez did not know when to stop, when enough is enough. Because the problem, these big clubs were the ones handing out these contracts. And you had to look at the players because at Chelsea, we have a model, right? N'Golo Kante is our highest earner at 300K per week. But he's one of the best defensive or box-to-box midfielders in world football.
in world football. Yeah.
So he earns that. When Hazard was there, he earned this 300K a week contract because he was one of the best. He was considered the best player in the Premier League. So he earns that. But everybody else, Marina looked and tell them, here what? This is what you are worth. And we are not going to break our wage structure to give anybody X amount of money because the moment we give you 350, here's somebody else knocking on the door wanting 400. Where
Exactly.
does it end? And the two Spanish clubs, that is what they did. When was Bartomeu going to say enough is enough? When was Perez going to say enough is enough?
And their only
Same thing
concern
for
was about
Manchester
shirt
United.
sales.
When
And
are you going to say enough is enough? When are you going to say, here what? We cannot give you that wage.
and
And all you have to do, you have one press release and tell the fans that the reason why this player wants to leave because we refuse to give him 400,000 a week. You
because
think the fans are going to take his side?
no, the fans
The
already
fans,
the
the
fans
fans are going to hold him out.
Exactly.
The fans are going to tell him to leave. They won't care
Because
that he's leaving.
because fans care about their club. So if a
But
if
it's
a
always
player
in
a
football,
player
the motto
is
is your club first, managers, players, owners after. Because in like persons in England, they say that these footballers are not owners of the clubs, they are custodians. You don't own it, you're just in custody of it, of this moment. You're just guardians. You're just here to make sure that the bills are paid, the infrastructure is taken care of. That is all. But the fans own the club.
and that's one of the things that I've admired about German football. The 50 plus rule is something that not everybody agrees with, but I really like that model because the fans never get excluded from the
Yes,
top
it
major
means that the
decisions.
fans have a voting right on the board. The fans sit on the board and they have a say. And you need a percentage of those fans to agree with anything that they that that happens with the club. And
No,
the problem with the
give
50
me a
plus
second.
one rule,
Yeah, go. Wait, finish that first. Finish that. Finish that
yeah, the
statement.
problem with the 50 plus one rule is that it's sometimes it closed off outside investment. Well, in Germany, it's very hard for overseas investors to come in and take over a club. So it does not make the league as competitive because the money is not shared around the table as much. And it is very hard for an owner to come in and pump billions into a club. But the
Oftentimes,
benefit
owners
of that
struggle with that.
rule, exactly, but the benefit of that rule is that you do not have what just happened in the Premier League. You don't have a Glazer family coming on and being leeches to Manchester United. You don't have the Cronkies being leeches at Arsenal Football Club. You don't have John Henry being leeches at Liverpool because all three of these owners are they're leeches. They put
And
nothing into the club, but yet they take millions out of it.
yeah, and
They're nothing but leeches.
here's the thing about it. Stan Kroenke is used to that model. He owns also franchises in America, but the franchises in America have a franchise system.
Yes,
So
very much so.
when he's the owner of the Dodgers, if I'm not mistaken, in the MLB, and he has an NFL
Yes.
franchise as well.
Yes, his NFL team went to the finals. I think it was maybe
Ex-
2 years ago, probably
yes, so
earlier. But yeah, one of the NFL teams went to the finals.
yeah, but their franchise model means that even if they're terrible,
They
they
still
still
make billions.
exist.
And you
Yeah,
know the
so they
fans, other than his, well, even the fans of his NFL team, because he took them from their home city and moved them to a different city. They all hate him because they
yeah,
all say that he does nothing for the clubs, the teams that he owns. He does nothing. There's no investment,
nothing.
nothing. He just sits and collect millions off of them.
Exactly.
He does nothing because guess what? Every year he's guaranteed X amount of money from them being in these from them being in these different leagues, and he has to do nothing.
And this goes back to what I was saying over the years with Arsene Wenger. And we're seeing it now with every coach. How much shit did Arsene Wenger have to eat for Stan Kroenke not investing in that Arsenal squad? While Wenger had to struggle and bring them into the Champions League, which would ensure them a 25 million every season for being in the
Exactly.
Champions League.
Wenger, Wenger in 2009 said that he envisioned a Super League to start because for these clubs, the money from the Champions League will not be enough. But
Exactly.
Wenger basically he he put himself out there and took the full force on the Arsenal fans when he had his both hands and feet tied
Tied
because
behind
he
his
has no
back.
investment. And why do you think Kroenke and the
And it's not
Glazers
that.
and
And oh, hold
Henry?
on. Let's not get people to turn on Wenger. It's not that he wants a Super League term. It's almost like
No, he
he's
doesn't.
saying
But he
it
said, but he foreshadowed this. He saw that the
exactly,
greed of these clubs, that there will come a time when enough is not enough.
exactly. So he's foreseeing this from years ago, and Arsene Wenger got to take a lot of what we're seeing the managers like Jurgen Klopp and Guardiola having to answer for their club's actions.
Yes, he was the face of that.
Exactly.
So
And you have to
you
take a
think
lot of shit
you
for a
think
lot of
they
years.
the Perez came out and he said it yesterday. The reason why they want to start the Super League because they have no money.
Exactly.
And they cornered both City and Chelsea to sign up to this because Arsenal again has no money, but Kroenke wants more. Tottenham
Mhm.
has a big debt that they have to pay off because they took a loan out to pay for their new stadium.
Exactly.
So when you look at all of that, the clubs that are
And
part
that's
of
what
this,
foot and when Kroenke got Arsenal, what did he do? Move them from Highbury. Let's build a new stadium. Put the team in debt
yes,
for a new
the
stadium.
stadium is going to
Oh
allow
my!
us to
And
compete
when
with Bayern Munich and
and
Barcelona's of this world
Bayern get them 18 at the stadium every year.
every year. It became a meme that every year Arsenal is expected to get five in their stadium and five
Five,
when they go away.
10, 8. Because guess what? Yeah, you're in a big, pretty stadium that can rival the Allianz, but at the same time, your squad is not Bayern squad.
Exactly.
Your squad isn't invested in like Bayern can.
Because I might not agree with some of the decisions that Rummenigge made when he was president of Bayern. Oh, and he's now on the UEFA executive board.
Mhm.
But if it's one thing I can say is I have never doubted his intentions that Bayern will one day have a squad that will not be able to compete. I have never been in doubt.
Oh, you've never been in that situation. Oh
Never.
my god.
Because I know for a fact that at the end of the day, no matter what foolishness he might say out of his mouth, the squad will be well invested in.
Yeah.
And it is the same thing at Chelsea. Chelsea has a billionaire owner, and a lot of clubs hate us for that. But we know that at the end of the day, Roman will make sure that the squad is well taken care of.
No, but this goes back to what me and you were talking about, I think last week, where I've said that when Lampard was hired to Chelsea, I asked the question: will Roman have the patience of not being in the Champions League and not being a competitor for a year, so that his manager can develop? Because you're bringing in a young guy to coach, you're bringing in a young, inexperienced manager, and he's bringing in some young, inexperienced players into the squad. So I asked this question to Leon before that it's not about if the squad does it's not about if the squad players really does well. We know that the squad will always have world class players mixed with youngsters, and we know that the squad is going to be okay. Will he give Lampard a chance to mess up for a certain period of time? And I'm like, me and you know that this guy can't go a year without winning a trophy.
Exactly, because Chelsea has only gone 1 year without a trophy. We've never gone back-to-back seasons without winning at least one trophy since Roman
Exactly,
has taken over.
and that was
Roman
my
is a
biggest question.
serial winner. He's a
Yes,
winner in business. When he was doing politics, he was a winner in politics. So when he came into club football, he didn't come into club football to make up the numbers. He came into club
you.
to win.
And
And this man hates
here's
losing.
no, but here's the thing about Roman that
We
separates
finished
him.
fourth last season, and he took $289 million and said,
Um,
go there and buy these
Buy
players because here
players.
what? I am tired of not. And City and Liverpool finishing 30 points ahead of me won't happen again.
He hates it. And even in the season where we finished sixth, we won the FA Cup and the UEFA Champions League. He does not like, that was the biggest question with the Lampard hire. You're hiring a young manager who needs to develop as a manager himself. And I said, will Roman, as much as Roman loved Lampard as a player, and why did he love Lampard as a player? Trophies.
Yes, because Lampard gave him his holy grail that he sought after.
Exactly.
And as much as he loves Czech, Lampard, Drogba, Terry, because these guys had direct lines to Roman. These
Yeah.
guys could walk up and had a meeting with Roman, be invited into his office on his yacht
How many times have
and
we
pop
seen Drogba?
champagne
How
and
many
drink
times
it.
have we seen Drogba sitting beside Roman at a Chelsea match?
Exactly.
And
But
this is
he
one of the
loves
things. But
these players dearly.
hold on. This is one of the things that separate guys like Roman Abramovich, Jerry Jones from the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
You can question Jerry Jones' decision making, and you can question even in business operation. You can't question anything about him. There's a difference between fans who grew up either playing or watching football than owners who are just businessmen who just, oh wait, that's a business opportunity to take over Liverpool. That's a business opportunity to take over
Exactly.
Arsenal.
Because before Roma had his visa problems, you could always Sky and BT Sport used to always pan the camera. When we lost, they would have panned the camera right up to where Roman is sitting.
Right up to where he's sitting. I usually and even after these legendary squads like Drogba's, the Lampards, the Terrys, even after that squad was retired, you could see them in the crowd having a conversation in the skybox with Roman.
You could
And
always he
yeah,
was all the European nights he was there.
exactly.
Champions League
And
away games, Europa League away games in the Premier League where we won the title. You could find him there. And when the trophy is being presented at Stamford Bridge, you can find him there.
exactly. And even some matches that were home matches. If they're home matches, you might can pan the camera and see.
Exactly. City's owner, the Prince of Abu Dhabi, might not have been to Manchester, but the president, the CEO, the chairman, director of football, they are at the matches. They are there when City won the Premier League under Guardiola for the first time. They were there in the stadiums. When they were in the Champions League semifinals for the first time, you saw them in the stadium.
And this, oh, and by the way, to
So-
speak about cities, the same guys you're speaking to about City, this wasn't a behavior that they had when they were at Man City. Even when they were at Barcelona, running Barcelona, like the Zubizarretas of the world, they were at matches.
Because these guys are football fans, but they're also businessmen, but they are football fans.
Well,
Roman is a businessman, but he's a football fan.
exactly. So if I'm a billionaire businessman and I happen to be a football fan, what's the one thing I'm definitely going to want to buy? A football club.
Trophies. And we want to win trophies.
I said this about the guy who owned Crystal Palace. Not the new owner, I think, but like the older owner before that. He was a Palace fan growing up in that area. Granted, he didn't become like a billionaire, but you know.
No, but you know, he took over in boyhood club. What can you say about that?
Exactly. And that goes back to what I said about the guys who back in the 90s or 80s, they used to walk after a football match, they would see their favorite players in a pub with them drinking beer. So you cannot isolate those type of fans.
You cannot. And this is why the fans hated the Super League so much, because it is no longer about them. It's about the money. But
and again, I think they're drastically overestimating how much money the overseas fans will bring in.
Yes, but now we have to talk about the money, because you know, let's talk about the money.
Yeah.
You see, the reason why the Super League started or became a thing was because of UEFA and how badly run UEFA is.
Which it is.
FIFA and UEFA are the two most corrupt
organizations.
I will go out and say they're some of the most corrupt multinational organizations on the planet that has avoided being investigated by the relevant authorities. And when I mean investigated, I mean proper investigations, not just the FBI locking up a few members. Because you think the clubs, the only thing I would agree with Perez from, and I hate myself for agreeing with Perez, but he said yesterday that UEFA is a monopoly. They have a stranglehold on European football.
My father
there's
used to call
no transparency.
Yeah, definitely. We're in, and this is again. Let me give the Americans some credit. The NBA, the NFL,
yes.
A lot of what they do is public.
Exactly, it's all public record. How much the commissioner is getting paid, and you know, Perez used the NBA as an example. He said that I can Google how much money LeBron James is making, but I do not know how much money the president of UEFA is collecting.
Exactly.
None of these financial records are public.
My father used to say, all of them are mafia.
But they are a mafia.
What is it?
And UEFA are a mafia. Everything is secret. UEFA collect billions from the Champions League every year. But if you win the Champions League, you collect what? Probably 90 million, give or take.
Oh no, it depends on your placement. It depends on your placement, and it depends how many of the clubs from your country make it far. So if four,
oh yes, because it's split up amongst the clubs that from your country. So the more clubs from your country that make it, the less money you're making.
Exactly. So let's say that. So let's give the fans a simple example. If I am
Chelsea
a Chelsea
and
player,
City is in the Champions semifinals. Chelsea is only getting 73 million from being in the semifinals of the Champions League. To put that into retrospect, finishing dead last in the Premier League, 20th place, that's 100 million. Finishing last in the Premier League when you are ready. Sheffield United is getting 100 million for being relegated in the Premier League. Chelsea is getting 73 million from making it to the semi-final of the Champions League. So the clubs have a right to be upset at UEFA because they have been, but they've been making billions of dollars off of the clubs, and the clubs have not been getting their fair share.
So that's why I said that
creating this farce of a competition, as Guardiola called it in his press conference, is not the answer.
No, but here's the thing.
Yes, UEFA is not the savior of football. UEFA is just as bad as these clubs. The old saying, kettle calling the pot black.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about it that you mentioned this over the course of the weekend to me, and I didn't have a refute for it. I didn't have. We could barely speculate on it on the weekend because I almost agree with like every one of your points because you said it before.
It was all just a negotiation.
It was a negotiation too, and I kept saying somebody needs to kick over the poker table because it's a big game of poker. Somebody needs to play their hand or show their hand. I don't know what UEFA is working.
You want to know who kicked over the poker table? The fans stormed the poker room and threw over the table.
Yeah, and threw over the table.
And it's funny, this morning it broke that UEFA is meeting with an investment firm
and that's one of the
$5 billion into the Champions League.
And it's funny because if we use the poker table example, none of you guys are gambling at this poker table with your money.
No.
None of you guys are at this poker table
money that you're gambling with.
Exactly with. So hold on there. You are playing poker with my money, and I do as I feel like. Of course, as fans, we have to eventually storm the room and kick over the table. Because everybody play poker like say, oh, I found the money not play.
And the next outrage that the fans need to direct their outrage at is Sky Sports, BT Sports, UEFA, FIFA, because these organizations have the audacity to come out and be like, enough is enough. FIFA sold the World Cup to Qatar, where persons are dying building the stadiums for that World Cup. People are dying. Reports are coming out that persons are being denied the right to go home to their countries.
Basically, human rights. There's a lot of human rights. There's a lot of human rights violations.
To finish these stadiums, and then FIFA have a right to come out and say you do not agree with what these clubs are doing.
Here's the thing, though, and that's what I'm saying. Everybody who's sitting at the poker table, let's not try to take the moral high ground like bigger than anybody else. All of you guys are
said something on Sky Sports yesterday on Monday Night Football, right?
Yeah.
He said that people will call us hypocrites because in 1992, Sky Sports did the same thing that these clubs are doing.
Yeah.
The clubs formed a deal with Sky Sports and created the Premier League. Why did they create the Premier League? It wasn't for the fans. Because they wanted more money.
No, but Leon, what was the question that I asked you when this initially started? Which one of the two evils you plan to pick? That was the question I asked you. UEFA or the Super League? Because everybody, the two of them evil, and I'm not going like say, oh, we don't have the moral high. Nobody has the moral high ground in this situation.
None of you have the moral high ground. No,
exactly.
Because they're both hypocrites. The only thing the Premier League kept, which Gary Neville alluded to, was that they kept the pyramid
stable. They kept it stable. They kept it stable. Which is why I said
the promotion and the relegation factor. So if Chelsea finish 20th, they're being demoted to the championship. So
and the one thing I'll give you UEFA is that even if you get relegated, and let's say that you won the
Can hear
Champions
me,
League
yeah.
the year before, or you won a cup, you won like a FA Cup, you would still be allowed to play in European competition. Let's use Wigan as an example.
Exactly.
Wigan got
Yes,
relegated one
Wigan,
year, but they won the
and they
FA
were in the
Cup.
Europa League
They were in
qualifying
the
rounds.
Europa League.
So again, you say that like and you cannot disagree with the clubs that UEFA is making billions off of them and they're just getting chump change. You cannot argue with it because that is the truth.
Yeah.
You cannot argue when the clubs say that
And again, if four
we are in
English teams,
financial ruins because that is just fact.
if four English teams make it to the quarterfinal rounds, that money has to be split up between those four English teams. Whatever money you're getting from
Exactly, because
UEFA, it has to be split
Dominic
up between.
alluded to
Go on.
yesterday is if these 12 clubs can approach JP Morgan and be like, yo, we need $4.2 billion worth of funding and this is how we're gonna make back the money. UEFA, you're telling me that you who have hundreds of clubs under your belt, who premier competitions, can approach these same investment firms, these TV companies, these streaming services,
no, but which is why
and be like, here what? We have all of these clubs. This is the amount of fans that will be turning in to watch these games. We need some more money to pay these clubs and fair share.
No, but here's the thing. Look what UEFA released, and I think you sent this release to me. UEFA did eventually do that. Once they heard that the Super League was starting, they eventually. Why didn't do it before?
Exactly. And you know, I said to you before, I said to you on Sunday when it's broken, Mario, is that to me, all of this is just a big smoke screen that they were trying to force UEFA's hand.
Exactly.
The two things that's gonna happen, right? They go ahead with the Super League and UEFA cave, or UEFA said to these clubs, say, here what? Come back in, but we're going to seek additional funding.
Which is why
because
I said
there's nothing wrong with change in football. As long as change is for good, the change is for the fans. There's nothing wrong with change because
but change is expected.
Change is
a part of life. You have to adapt as you go.
But the whole, because I told you, Mario, you see, if these clubs came out and said, here what? We are announcing a European Super League, 28 teams, but you have to qualify through your domestic leagues.
Yeah.
You would not have this uproar
that
you're having now.
No. It's a structure
that we're having.
That's why I was asking.
Because you 12 clubs decided that you should, it's your God-given right to be at the top of the European team.
No, but that's what I was telling you.
10th in the league.
They don't deserve to be in the Europa League. You don't deserve to be in the Europa League. You're not supposed to be in the Europa League.
creating a third European competition where if you finish 7th, that's where you go. They don't even qualify for that.
Exactly. So what I also think that's unnecessary. I also think that's unnecessary. The Europa League
but
and
they're
the
only
Champions
doing it for money.
Exactly.
But
because I say there's no
Champions League format, which again the clubs hate, is because UEFA wants more money.
Exactly.
More matches mean more broadcasting revenue.
Exactly.
And these revenues are not going to the clubs.
Which is why I was asking
why
you Sunday.
The clubs in the Premier League don't argue with Sky Sports when they want to have more matches televised. Because they know that this is going into their pockets.
But this is what I was asking you Sunday. This is what I was asking you Sunday. I don't know everybody's hand. You're at a negotiation table or a poker table, but I don't know what is UEFA's hand. Because based on the structure of the Champions League that they were doing, it would have had a bad effect on the players. It would have cost the fans more money because again, who is going to travel to all of these midweek games? And how are we going to afford it? And then with the players, we see what as much as sports science is moving further and further and further. These group of footballers who are playing today have played the most amount of minutes of any sportsman alive in history. So you're going to pile on more pressure on the players, and then you're going to complain to FIFA about their national team games. So you as UEFA are going to increase the amount of games And then you're going to have a problem with FIFA when FIFA say, hey, international friendlies need to be played, or international matches need to be played for you to qualify for this tournament or that tournament. So everybody's trying to feed their own pockets and pretend like they have the
Exactly.
moral high ground.
Exactly, because UEFA created this foolishness called the Nation Leagues, which
Which nobody asked for,
Wenger
which
said
no
that if
one
you
asked
ask
for.
any fan,
Nobody
you
asked
ask
for
any
it.
football fan what's the Nation League, they won't tell you what it is.
They don't even know the
To make more
structure.
money, more football. The clubs wanted less matches,
Yeah.
and they wanted less clubs to enter the Champions League. That's what the clubs wanted. Less matches, less clubs. The reason why they wanted less matches is one, the players get better time to rest
Yeah.
because the players are playing an unhealthy
Amount of matches.
amount of football. It's
Like I
very,
said,
very unhealthy.
this era of sports, the commercial era of sports, and we're seeing it with the NFL as well. The NFL players, even
Yes,
though the
because
NFL
they
players'
just
contract
approve more matches.
more at 17 game, and what the NFL players are saying is that okay, we're cool with you adding one more match, but where does this end? Am I going to eventually have to sign a contract where we're playing 20 matches because more people are watching the
Exactly. And
NFL?
then, Sky Sports, again, the Premier League is saying that greed and enough is enough. They wanted to introduce a 39th match of the season played in a foreign country. What was that 39 match for?
And the
Greed.
funny thing is, well, I know which foreign country was it going to be? The US.
The US. So again, greed versus greed.
No, but
That's
and
all
let's
it was.
well, no, and let's look at the tournament that's held in the US. There's a tournament that is
Yeah, the
held, a
ICC,
preseason tournament, the
the
ICC.
International
Why
Championship.
was that created? Money.
But funnily, the European Super League that they had came from the ICC. The
Yes.
ICC was what they modeled it off of.
Yeah, because Inter Milan's, the AC Milan's, the Real Madrid's, those were the clubs that went to the US for that tour.
And they
And that's
saw
what
the amount of revenue that the clubs
that
made,
it brought
that
in.
the ICC
Even
made.
exactly. And that was preseason. That's a preseason tournament.
Exactly. So imagine if it's during the season. But again,
Ah.
they underestimate. Chelsea fans will forever love Roman, and a lot of persons are saying, that this Roman made a mistake allowing the club to join the Super League. But
Well, I
he
think it's
took us
almost
out.
forced.
He took us out. It's higher. We were backed into a corner because, from a business standpoint, your rivals are making more money. They're going to be making up to $3 billion. Of course, you want a cut of the pie because you want to remain competitive.
Yeah.
But Chelsea and City do not owe anybody anything. So they're in a very good financial position because they've managed their
No, but that
millions
was not
well.
just that. No, but here's the thing. Not just that. The reason why Chelsea and Man City are in the position that they're in, like a good financial position that they're in, you have to also remember, people used to complain about these guys like Roman and Sheikh Mansour, or is
Yep.
that PSG's?
Sheikh Mansour.
Yeah, Sheikh Mansour.
Mhm.
They used to complain about these big sugar that is taking over these clubs. But and what did FIFA do? Put in financial fair play.
Yes, UEFA came with FFP. Oh, this is to protect clubs from going bankrupt. Yet your
Yes,
two
UEFA.
biggest clubs are on the brink of bankruptcy.
Exactly.
Just say what is it? FFP came in to prevent another Chelsea, City, and PSG from forming.
And that's I'm not
And City and PSG showed a middle finger to UEFA.
We had this conversation on the podcast. If FFP was let go, teams like a Sevilla could become a Man City. Teams like Leicester City could become a Man City.
Because people for Leicester City does have a billionaire owner. He owns one of the biggest shopping franchises, I think, in Thailand.
Was he the one that was in the helicopter crash?
Fulham, yes, well, yes. Yes, his son, I think his son now is the chairman of Leicester. Fulham has a billionaire owner as well. But FFP is in place to stop these clubs from using their owners' money. And what has
Exactly.
Chelsea done to remedy this? We create a loan army, and yes,
And
fans
people
make fun
complain
of
about the
us,
loan army.
but
People
that
even
loan
complain
army
about the loan
generates
army.
40 to 50 million every season for us.
And there's a two-sided coin to the loan army thing where people were arguing that okay, none of these players are actually going to make the squad. But yeah, but you've provided opportunities for players who would have probably
Exactly,
never get
because
that
the connections
opportunity.
that Chelsea have, a lot of these, when you hear these players talk and this, none of them are upset that they've been out on loan at Chelsea, that they never got in a chance to
I
play for
mean, one
Chelsea
and
because they say it. Chelsea allowed me to get a professional career in football.
yeah, but one and two of them will complain, but not a lot.
Yes, they will complain, but the majority of them, they are thankful for the
No,
training
definitely,
facilities and
definitely.
for the opportunity to go to a club and have a career in football.
Because and you have to understand what the loan army did was basically one of the positives of the loan army that Chelsea
Mhm.
had was you cannot have your best season at this loan club and you still get a
Yeah.
next year to go out on loan and prove yourself. And you would go out on loan to multiple different countries and build your reputation as a player around many different countries. Whereas okay, if you don't make the Chelsea squad, then we'll just drop you, or you never get the opportunity in the first place because, for example, you have players who have come from Africa that Chelsea has bought,
Mhm.
been on the loan army. Players from South
Yes.
America. One of the players that we signed who was from Mexico, was from Guadalajara. He's not the biggest
Yes.
star in the Australian league. Granted, that's a step down from Chelsea, but he's the biggest star in the
He has a
Australian league.
career.
He has a
He now
career.
has a career.
So even if you don't get to make it at the dream club that signed you, at the end of the day, you still have a career that you're getting.
And you want to know something as well while we're on this, the Premier League is the reason why the Super League is starting. A lot of persons be like, always be the Premier League fault. The Premier League, when they were being started, came up with a simple rule, a very, very simple rule. All 20 member clubs will get equal share of the broadcasting revenue.
Mm-hmm.
You need 14 clubs to agree to any changes to the Premier League. Yes, over the years, the TV money has blossomed, has ballooned into what now that the 20th place is making 100 million.
And it's
But
made the league more
what made the
competitive.
Premier League so competitive is because every year each club gets the same amount of money
And
from the league.
Perez should not be complaining because in
The
Spain it's not
reason
like
why La
this.
Liga is the situation where it is at is because both Barcelona and Madrid for years have exploited the league that they get their own TV rights, their own TV deal, and there was nothing left for the
Whereas
other 18 clubs in La Liga.
the other
And
18
because
clubs
of that,
became selling clubs.
exactly, and these clubs now will have to rely on you to make money. They have to sell their players abroad. They're all in debt. They have no money, so they're not able to buy
I wouldn't
players.
say
They have
they're
to
all
get
in
cheap
debt, but
players.
I wouldn't say they're all in debt, but
Okay, but majority of them are in debt.
I wouldn't say that.
And I probably go in and check, but I think I can tell you that at least 15 of those La Liga clubs, I'm checking right now, at least 15 of those La Liga clubs are in debt.
Or at least not in a position where
But
because I
but we
cause
can, but not enough. But I can tell you, all 20 clubs are not in a are not in a good
a good
financial
financial
situation
situation.
for top
That's
clubs.
exactly. And then
The 20
also,
Premier League clubs, Sheffield United is being relegated to the Championship, is in a
and they're
better
stable. They're
physical
stable.
position than La Liga clubs. That is a
Yeah, because
disgrace.
Valencia is in seventh right now, and Sheffield is in a better financial situation.
That is a disgrace.
Exactly. And La Liga needs to, and that's the thing. La Liga doesn't vet owners, so you can come into La Liga, completely ruin a club, and leave.
Valencia says I again. AC Milan, Inter Milan. They think these clubs went from European giants to not even playing in the Champions League. Their owners exploited them.
And just left and then took up and left. Destroyed their squads, destroyed their infrastructure, and left.
I will give the Premier FA in England for, as much as they're also corrupt as well, is that they look out for their clubs. They ensure that the owners coming into the clubs have the money that they claim that they have. So it is a disgrace. So Perez and Bartomeu, Laporte, you guys can't complain that La Liga is not making any money when you're the reason why La Liga is the situation.
As a whole isn't making money. And I don't want to blame Laporte. Well, here's the thing. I don't want to kill Laporte for this because
but even when Laporte was a president, this is not something that happened just now.
Yeah.
It's something going on for a very long time. So every owner, every president of Barcelona and Madrid has been complicit in this.
Yeah, true.
It's your fault that right now sponsors are flocking to the Premier League because it's so competitive, because the league is so interesting to watch. It's your fault that is happening. It's your fault why you can't sign a $3-4 billion TV rights deal.
Yeah. And you know what? And I have to give the rest of the La Liga clubs credit. La Liga could be a lot more. La Liga could be like the Portuguese league. So I still have to give these clubs like the Villarreal, the Bilbaos, the Sociedad, the Celta Vigos, I still have to give them credit because the league isn't necessarily competitive, but it isn't void of quality football outside of the top four. It isn't void of quality football because you have to remember these clubs still feed the rest of Europe with quality players when they're young. So I still have to give the La Liga clubs credit, but the La Liga could be in the same position that the Premier League is in, if not for the whole Madrid and Barca have monopolized it. They could be a club. They could be a league where a Villarreal can win a title. A Villarreal can be in the Champions League. Athletic Bilbao could win the title. So I still have to give credit to the La Liga teams that they've dealt with a bad situation well. And there's still clubs in La Liga who are fan-owned. Eibar is fan-owned.
Yes, they are.
And they're barely surviving.
The majority of La Liga clubs are fan-owned. And like you said, they're barely surviving. What was that club that got promoted and they had to have a fundraiser just to get into the La Liga?
It was Eibar. The first year Eibar came into the league, they had to. Yes, it was Eibar. They're the least earning club out of the three from the Basque Country. So you have Sociedad, you have Athletic Bilbao. Those two are selling clubs. They create good youngsters. They have good academies, and then they sell on players like your Antoine Griezmann, and there's many more who've been over there. But he's the most popular one from there. And from Bilbao, you had your Ander Herrera, your Javi Martinez, your Diego Llorente, who went to Juventus. So those guys are selling clubs. Eibar, when they got promoted, were almost not allowed in La Liga. Even though they earned their way into La Liga from promotion, they couldn't sustain themselves as a La Liga club. Because they couldn't sustain themselves. Exactly.
So again, there are structural problems in La Liga that needs to be fixed. And the problem is because the president of the Spanish FA, who controls La Liga, for far too long, they've sat down and allowed Real Madrid and Barcelona to dictate what happens in the league.
And now we can get into
these clubs might be the two biggest clubs. Go ahead.
Now we can get into like the collateral damage of what has happened just from all of this happening. We're seeing Ed Woodward, who Man United fans wanted out for a long time. He's now to resign.
But you see, Ed Woodward resigning doesn't do anything because the problem is the owners of Man United.
Yeah, the Glazers.
Woodward is just a figurehead. He's just a puppet.
Yeah.
And they will put the next puppet in place.
That's the problem. That's another
Woodward
problem.
is probably resigning But we're hearing from United sources that his contract was up anyway this season. So Juventus president is resigning. So these are the follow.
Yeah.
They left you. You left your. And you know, this one thing that I would agree with you for you said this is that we were negotiating with these people
And they pretended like they were
and they pretended like we spoke and you said everything is fine. You agree with these proposals. While secretly you were planning to stab us in the back in the first
Mega
place.
say
You're
it,
your
mega,
states.
mega say it again. My father has told me since I was a child, the whole of them are mafia.
So let's just up to date news. The Liverpool players are now
Mhm.
making a post on social media stating the post is saying we don't like it and we don't want it to happen. This is our collective position. Our commitment to this football club and its supporters is absolute and unconditional. You
And
will
I feel
never
like
walk alone.
and
So no,
again
all of Liverpool players are coming out and speaking out against this.
and again, as much as and again, I don't think any player actually wants this to happen.
I
I think
doubt
the
it.
play because again the players are not nobody's listening to the players. I think the owners are listening to the players.
But yesterday when the news broke, Jurgen Klopp was furious, having to be answering questions in a press conference when he should be preparing for a match.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
When he should be using his training sessions in the morning to go over tactics for the match later, he has to be having a meeting talking about Super League.
Pep Guardiola looked like he didn't even want to talk. Because again, it's not his position. I know he might make the decisions. So why should he have to why should he have to face the public
When
backlash?
the players should be focusing on winning their respective games, they have to be worrying about Super League. What is this Super
Exactly.
League talk? Oh, will I be able to represent my country in the World Cup in 2022? Euros is
Exactly.
this summer. Will I be able to play in the Euros?
Playing the Euros.
Why should I be? Why? So again, this shows that these owners are so out of touch. They have their heads so far up their asses
And
that
that's
they
why I
don't have
respect
a clue what's going on.
no, but that's why I respect a Sheikh Mansour and a Abramovich. These guys were football fans because Abramovich was at the World Cup supporting his Russian team.
Yep,
Because again,
he
these
was.
guys understand football from both a fan's perspective, growing up watching the game. Some of them, Jerry Jones used to play as a he may not have made it as a career. Jerry Jones from the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL, he may not have made it as a career in the NFL, but he's been playing the sport since he was a child. So he has that connection to the sport where he understands it more from somewhat of a player's perspective and from a fan's perspective. I know I'm a billionaire owner, I know I'm going to invest in the game. Same thing with the Roman Abramoviches of the world. So they have a
Mhm.
bit more connection. When you have people like the Glazers coming in, the guy from Liverpool, when you have these guys who are just businessmen, the guy who's completely effing up Valencia right now. When you have these businessmen who are just businessmen buying into these football clubs, it causes a huge problem. And I've always said we need to, and we said this about the championship as well, the English championship. We need to vet these owners a bit better before we even allow them to take over clubs. Or if you're not going to vet these owners properly, do something like Germany with the 50 plus rule.
Yeah, but
Because I'm
funnily, the UK government has, because of what's happening, they said that they will be looking at passing laws that will make all the football clubs in Britain have the same model of the as the German clubs, something similar to the 50+1 rule, where the fans will now have more of a say in what these clubs do
no, but
to
that's what I thought a
prevent
lot of
something like this from happening.
and Barca and let me bring up a Barcelona point. One of the things that allowed Bartomeu to get away with all of the foolishness he did,
Yes.
Barcelona has something called the socios, who, even though it's not a 50 plus rule, the socios can get a board, the socios can get a president kicked out of the club based on a vote. Now, what Bartomeu did was he also controlled the media in Barcelona. So even when things were going terrible behind the scenes, he was able to cover it up with the media. So Barcelona fans didn't know that all of this debt was piling the hell up, or else he would have been kicked out a long time ago from the socials.
Exactly.
But when every newspaper you read is telling you that Bartomeu is the greatest thing since sliced bread and the club is making more money than ever, and you get what I'm saying? He caused propaganda within Barcelona because Bartomeu also controlled the media in Barcelona. So the socials weren't completely aware. So when you have a 50 plus rule now where you're basically on the board rather than just hearing news about the board, it's a bit
Yes,
more of
you
a
are.
power
You
position.
are, the fan representatives sit on the board.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a hectic day in football, you know, and for me, I'm just happy that the Super League is done with. For now,
Like I said, the bubble have a pop eventually.
and you know, I found myself, you know, like if you're Chelsea, if you're Man City, met Liverpool, United, Arsenal, and Tottenham go bankrupt. You two fight over the league every year. Your only challenge in the Champions League is Real Madrid. I'm sorry, is Bayern and PSG. Real Madrid and Barcelona goes bankrupt. Win the trophies in their place. No, why would you decide to join? But again,
And it's so fun.
I can
And you know,
understand.
you know what hurts as a Barca fan watching Man City? The two people running Man City, Barca told them not to do everything that they're doing at City now to make City a successful club. The reason why they left Barca is because Barca did not want. Barca used the argument that they didn't want the club to go in that direction because they thought that the club would have been. You see exactly where the club is now with bankruptcy and debt and all that crap. They
Exactly.
thought that was
So
going to happen under
Bartomeu, because Laporte just became president, so Bartomeu would have been the one that would
cause
have
all of the
been
bullshit.
pulling the
Yeah,
club into the Super League.
yes, they were the one. He was the one collecting all of that debt. Even when Rosell was there, this wasn't happening under Rosell's watch. The thing that Rosell did that caused him to go to prison was the Neymar deal.
Yes, the Neymar transfer.
It was an illegal transfer and whatever, and that was what caused Rosell to have to step down. But he wasn't piling up debt. It was Bartomeu. So what hurts as a Barca fan is seeing where City is with Zubizarreta and those guys running the show, and seeing how City are well managed to the point where they can buy other clubs around the world, which is what Zubizarreta and the guys proposed to the Barcelona before. They proposed this to Barcelona before, and everything that you see happening at City now was supposed to happen for Barcelona. And the Barcelona rejected it. And we moved forward with the Bartomeu and guys like Zubizarreta.
It's funny, they rejected it on the firm's principles that this is a game for the Catalans, the game for the Catalan people.
Exactly.
And this is a Catalan culture. This is for the fans of Barcelona.
Exactly.
And this model goes against what we as a club stand for.
Believe in, exactly.
You know, it's funny hearing Gary Neville call out Liverpool, saying that your biggest slogan, you never walk alone.
Yeah.
Yet you're turning your back on your fans.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't that guy even knows why they sing the songs like Never Walk Alone. I don't even understand why.
Oh, please. I think you know anything about Bob Paisley and what he did for Liverpool during his tenure there? What Sir Kenny Dalglish did for Liverpool?
Hell no.
You think the Glazers know anything about what Sir Bobby Charlton has done for Manchester United? What Eric Cantona, George Best, what they have done for United? You think he knows anything about them? You think he knows how they even got Old Trafford? Man, I tell you, man. There's one thing, as much as these are rival clubs, there's one thing you can sympathize with these fans with, is that you feel sorry for them that they have to put up with leeches as owners of their clubs. Owners that have no care for them, nothing, they don't want to improve the squads. You know, we laugh at Arsenal fans of a banter, but as a fellow person who loves sports, who loves football, it is very heartbreaking to see that they are
Brother, how
once
much?
majestic club, a club that you will look forward to, that a London derby with, the
No,
Champions
but they
League
were.
with,
In all
is
fairness,
left
in all fairness,
wallowing
they were the
in
original
pain.
Barcelona. They were the under Arsene Wenger's rule in the initial stages.
Yes,
They
they were the,
became the
yes, they were
Barcelona
the original
of the league.
Barcelona in England.
Exactly. So to see them after 2000 and like 2006, 2007, 2008, when they couldn't buy a player in their squad because of their takeover and because of the new stadium
When
and
we
moving
literally
from
we sat and slowly watched Arsenal become a mid-table club.
and Wenger had to hold that club up for so many years, and he doesn't get credit enough for that as a coach. He made players
No,
who
because he had a Europa League team finishing in the Champions League. And
every
every
year.
time they faced a club that is a Champions League club, they got a proper whopping because they should not have been there in the first place.
Exactly. When Liverpool was starting to finish seventh, I said the same thing. The squad that Arsenal has had to work with should be finishing seventh and all of that, but Wenger doesn't get credit for finishing in the Champions League every year
No,
because
because
those
you know the
squads should have
problem that
finished that
Arsenal
in
had
those
under Wenger.
places.
Finally, the problem Arsenal had under Wenger, was their away performances. But
Yeah.
they were fortress at home. You couldn't beat them at home. They had an immaculate home record. But away from home, yeah, fair game. So I think we've gone longer than an hour. And as the day breaks, more news will break. So
My final word is the whole of them are mafia.
yes, there are. That's it basically.
All right, so thanks.
Manchester City has issued a statement, so let me just
Oh,
read that before we go.
yeah, go on.
Hmm. Manchester City Football Club can confirm that it has formally enacted the procedures to withdraw from the group developing plans for the Europa Super League. And that was a very short statement. But that's a formal statement from City announcing that they have left the Super League. Chelsea reporters close to the Chelsea hierarchy has reported that they'll make a statement tomorrow. As already stated by Barcelona's head, that them joining the Super League is all based on what the socios vote. Atletico Madrid's board has pulled out as well. So by the end of this week, we hope that Liverpool, United, and Arsenal owners will come to their senses and bury this Super League foolishness in the ground.
Well, the bubble has finally popped, so
Yes, Chelsea has. Like I said to you, I think I said it to you that all it takes is one club to put out, and Chelsea
and
has
then we will see
started, and
the
the dominoes will fall. So both Chelsea, City, Atletico Madrid, and Barcelona are formally leaving the Europa Super League, European Super League.
I guess just a rough
So we
ending for
now
the day.
await. Yeah, so
So we'll see you guys again next time,
next
and
time,
let's
yes.
see let's hope that we still have the sport of football next season.
Oh, it is now formally announced that Ed Woodward would leave role as chairman at the end of the season when his contract is set to expire anyways.
All right.
All right, so have a good one. The next time we meet again, let us hope we can be talking about the Champions League football and
And some
the
league and some league
race for the top
and
four.
and because of this foolishness, because here's the thing, we wanted to expand. I watch a lot of football from around the world, so I wanted to report on the Japanese league, and the African, what is going on
Yes,
in the
because the
African
leagues are now
football.
coming to a close. I heard the African Champions League is heating up. I think you were telling me that the other day
Yeah,
that some wonderful matches are being played. So We need
because
another.
again, as football, as these big TV rights deals are being done, a lot of football from around the world is being more exposed. Shout out to Bein Sports for covering a lot more African football. I'll give them credit for that. I really have to, and I like how the Japanese league is using YouTube to really broadcast its league. And
Wow, really? YouTube?
yeah, so
That's actually a good idea. I never
yeah,
thought of that.
so yeah, so I wanted to start really getting it because I've been watching those leagues for years. It's been hard. I mean, I used to have to find a lot of other means to watch those leagues, but as these leagues get more, because the quality is going up with football around the world, and I didn't just want to keep it within the European game. I wanted even our leagues here in
Yes.
CONCACAF are getting better. So I wanted to broadcast the world's game because this game doesn't belong to Europe. Despite
No,
what
it
the
doesn't.
European Super
This
League
game
thinks.
belongs to all of us.
Exactly. So I wanted
It's
to
a global
broadcast on it.
sport.
So we'll see you guys next time, and we'll have a lot more to cover.